Hello everyone, how are you? A very good morning to everyone. I see Carol is there, right? Khushi is there, Tulasi is there, Charo is there. Good. Vivek, Sushil, Pooja is there, right, Khushi? So you're facing some issue with the app. Probably try reinstalling, or otherwise the old chapters are also there on YouTube, right? So you can watch the previous chapters on YouTube as well. I know on YouTube it will be difficult to ask queries. What difficult? You cannot ask queries on YouTube. But yes, maybe try uninstalling and reinstalling after this session once. That might help, right? What about everyone else? Yes. Oh, okay. So you cannot see the live session in laptop. That is strange. I have tried once. Laptop में चलता है. I've seen that. It works in laptop. At least my laptop it works. Technical issues, right? Hey, Ananya, how are you? All right, so before we start today's session, right, which will be majorly around chapter 5, where we left off, and then we'll also talk about few questions, like I promised, from chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? We'll talk about some MCQs, what kind of MCQs to expect in examinations. And we will also discuss about all the 4 chapters in a very crisp revision thing, right? What we'll also do at the end of today's session is we'll revise all the 5 chapters very quickly. I'll like 15-20 minutes, maybe we'll try to complete all the chapters, quick revisions, सारे concepts we'll understand एक बारी फिर से, right? Like 2 minutes on every concept, and we would be completing that in 20-25 minutes. That is what I'm aiming, so that a quick revision हो जाए before we move on to chapter 6, 7, and 8, right? Because we will be just left with 3 chapters now. We have done till 5. We'll be completing 5 today as well. ज़्यादा बचा नहीं है उसमें, but we'll do that as well. Plus, I'll also ask some random questions to you, based on the syllabus as well. MCQs तो करेंगे ही. We'll also do some random questions that I think I'll ask you concepts and let us see who would be able to answer that. Or I'll ask you some questions around certain companies, live examples लेंगे, right? We'll take a company and understand what are their strategies, what has been their strategy in India, what has been their strategy in actually doing business, right? Is what we'll also understand it. Okay, cool. So before I start, right? Hi Vandana, hi, how are you? So before we start, any questions so far though? Any doubts? Anything that you want to understand? Or we can straight go to start with where we left off in chapter number 5, right? Any questions or any doubts so far? Do let me know. Anything that is not clear, anything where you need more examples, anything where you think यार नहीं एक बारी और समझना है, we did not get the concept right, I am still confused about a particular concept, anything of that sort, ask your questions. Or if not, we'll straight go to chapter number 5, right? Awesome, thanks Pooja, no doubt. Great, right? Okay. Hey Vandana, I see your message. Yes. Good morning to you as well. Any questions or something? I'll just refresh the chat and see if there are any questions or doubts. If not, we will very quickly go to chapter number आपका 5. But आज class है तो like what is this going? आज this is class only going on, right? Others can watch me. Others can look at me, right? Is it so? You guys can see me, right? I'm pretty sure people are answering my questions, so probably they can see. ठीक है. I think there are no questions, which is a great thing. So let us move on to talk about chapter number 5. But before I get into chapter number 5, before I start with chapter number 5 where we left off, right? Let us very quickly just go through all the slides. Let us very quickly go through all the concepts, right? So that a connection वापस आ जाए कि where we left off, right? वरना एकदम से if you start abruptly, you will be confused कि यार ये कौन सा ये क्या चीज पढ़ रहे हैं, right? So So think about this. So we are studying business level strategies in chapter number 5, which talks about Michael Porter's five forces of model. Five forces model, which says that if you have to understand the competitive environment of a particular industry for a particular business, you have to understand five forces. If you have to understand the competitive environment of a business in an industry, you have to understand the five forces of competition, right? Sure, we'll come to that, Charu. That's a good question. Rohan says, unable to attend live classes on BOS portal. Yeah, Rohan, I'll have to check that. So probably I'll just request the technical team to take up this query from students that they are unable to attend live classes on BOS portal. Right? That is a pain, I agree, because that is where you ask questions, right? Cool. We have a question from Charu also. How standardization will reduce cost? Jab I come to that topic, I'll just answer that as well, Charu. Okay. So Michael Porter says five forces. आप समझ लीजिए. You have to understand the five forces of competition in your industry, and आपको समझ आ जाएगा कि how does the competition function? What kind of a competition is there in the business that you're trying to do, right? And the assumption was that every company is in a competitive environment. Every company is actually competing, right? Okay. And nature, the mix, and the intricacies of competitive forces are industry specific, right? Every industry has a different force which is dominant, or every industry has a different force which takes over other forces of competition, and that is what the assumption is, right? The basic unit for analysis is a group of direct competitors. We are talking about direct competition here, ideally. The major focus for Michael Porter's five forces is direct competition, right? And competitive advantage is also industry specific. A competitive advantage of one company in cloth making segment is different from a company which makes shoes, or it is different from a company that makes cars, or it is different for a company that makes namkeens, right? So that is an industry specific competitive advantage that comes after you beat your competition or after you create a core competency for yourself, right? So five forces were nature of rivalry, threat of new entrants, substitute products, bargaining power of the supplier, and bargaining power of the buyer. Okay. So nature of rivalry. The nature of rivalry means how fierce the nature of rivalry in the business, in the industry is. How many competitors are there? कितने लोग already काम कर रहे हैं? How many more people can actually enter that industry? What kind of profits they are making? What kind of fierce competition is happening? क्या price war हो रही है? Is there a price war? Everyone is reducing prices, or how is it? How tough the competition is? Is it a newer market? Is it a mature market where I can enter and maneuver? That means drive through smoothly into that industry, or will it require a lot of marketing, a lot of awareness to stay in the market, to compete with the competitors in the market, right? Second was threat of new entrants. If new people start entering, your profits start reducing because more people start to enter the industry. That means more people are there competing for the same group of customers, and thus your market share reduces and your profits also reduce. How to stop new entrants? There was barriers of entry, right? We'll study that. Number 3 was substitute products. Substitute products are products which provide the same functionality, but they're from a different industry, or maybe a different company or different product. They are a different product, but they provide the same functionality. For example, tea and coffee. We took the example of tea and coffee. चाय नहीं मिलेगी, कॉफी पी लेंगे, कॉफी नहीं मिलेगी, चाय पी लेंगे, right? It's solving the same purpose. It's solving the same function for the customer, right? Number 4 was suppliers bargaining power. That means when less number of suppliers, more number of buyers, suppliers can have more advantage. Or when suppliers are the supplier of very crucial products, बहुत important products they provide to the purchasers, then they become a very dominant bargaining power. They get powers to dictate the terms and conditions of contract, the prices, the distribution channels, सब कुछ पे they have control. Similarly, when the buyer is able to, when the buyer gets the bargaining power is when buyer knows what your cost is, buyer has different information, buyer has different options, they start gaining more bargaining power. Like all of us, like we decide Amazon पे खरीदना है, Flipkart पे खरीदना है, we got to go to Meesho, or we are going to go to the brand's website and buy something because we have access to information. Companies cannot make a fool of us. We have more bargaining power as compared to companies in at least D2C or consumer products, right? Or electronics per se. Companies cannot make a fool of us saying कि Amazon पे 12,000 का है, Flipkart पे 10,000 का है, website पे 8,900 का है. I am aware I can go on the internet search and then make a decision. So I, as a buyer, have more bargaining power, and that is something that dictates the competitive landscape of the industry, right? 5 forces. Then we were talking about rivalry, wherein we were thinking about what defines a rivalry. How do you understand rivalry? We talked about attractiveness and profitability, right? We talked about attractiveness and profitability, where we were talking about specific characteristics. कैसे पता चलता? Like industry has no clear leader. That means it's more attractive. I can go and become a leader, right? There is high rivalry. So I have to compete with a lot of people because there is no one clear leader. बहुत ज़्यादा fight हो रही है for everyone to become the Raja, right? Everyone wants to become the Bahubali of the industry. So there is a lot of fight, right? Numerous competitors होंगे. The competitors have a very high fixed cost. People have invested a lot of money into the business. That means they will compete for the business because they have already invested so much paisa. They will want to compete with you, right? Competitors face high exit barriers and fight for market share. Exit barrier बहुत ज़्यादा because they have invested so much money, they will not exit easily. So if you compete with them, even if you beat them, they will not exit the industry. They will still keep doing business क्योंकि भाई उन्होंने पैसा बहुत ज़्यादा लगाया, right? Competitors have little opportunity to differentiate their offerings, right? You cannot be very unique because इतना ज़्यादा competition, आप कुछ भी अलग करोगे, people will say कि नहीं यार हमें तो दूसरा product easily मिल रहा है, we'll buy that. Right? So you have to be very close to what the consumer wants. Finally, the industry faces slow or diminishing growth. So let us suppose आप एक industry में हो जहाँ पे slow या diminishing growth है, right? So you will understand कि अच्छा यहाँ तो profit ही नहीं है. So that means a lot of companies are competing for that because इतना ज़्यादा भीड़ हो गई है, it's so crowded that the profits are starting to go down, right? Then we were talking about threat of new entrants. We know कोई नया खिलाड़ी आएगा अगर business में, the more people selling a particular product, simple economics, more supply, less demand. What happens? You tell me. Okay, there's a question for you I'm asking. If the supply is more and the demand is less, what will happen to the prices? If the supply is more and the demand is less, what will happen to the prices? Will the prices go up or will the prices go down? If the supply is more and the demand is less, yes, Abhijit, on YouTube, you won't be able to send queries on YouTube. Queries के लिए you'll have to go to that portal of ICAI, right? Queries तो आप वहीं पूछ सकते हो. YouTube पे it's a public place. It's like a public social media kind of thing. So you cannot ask queries there. Or probably if I had been some game streaming guy on YouTube, then we would have opened a chat and done all that OP thing, right? Then I've written Abhijit OP. What is your question? Cool. The question is, if the supply is more and the demand is less, the supply is more, the demand is less, what will happen to the prices? Will the prices go up or will the prices come down? What will happen to prices? Prices go down, prices become reduced, prices will reduce, right? Low prices, prices go down. Absolutely, simple economics. And that is what happens in threat of new entrants, right? Abhi everyone enters the industry, supply increases, demand wahi ki wahi. Right? Even if the demand is same, the supply goes up. When the supply moves up and demand is still there, the prices will fall. When the prices will fall, there will be price war. अभी कौन सबसे सस्ता बेचता है, right? Who sells at the cheapest price available to the customer becomes a price war. Jio, Airtel, Vodafone, this was a price war, right? They went into a price war. That industry went through a price war. कि कौन सबसे सस्ता देता है, 5 रुपए में महीना, 10 रुपए में महीना, अनलिमिटेड इंटरनेट, give this, give that, unlimited calls, Geo to Geo free, Geo to any network free. Airtel says boss buy internet at 300 rupees for the entire month, 40 Mbps, 100 Mbps, right? Price war. Then how to protect yourself? We studied about barriers to entry, right? घुसने ही मत दो, right? घुसने ही मत दो. Barriers to entry means you do not allow new people to enter into an industry, right? You do not allow people to enter into an industry. Absolutely. I think Mehman is telling for some everyone's help that there is some issue in the app. So you can go and access it through your laptop or website. Is that right, Mehman? Is that what I understand right? For everyone who's wanting to ask questions, if you're using an app, probably some issue in the app is what he's saying. You can go to the online lecture through the website, through the portal on your computer systems or laptops, right? Okay, so we were talking about barriers to entry. अगर आपको नए लोगों को, you do not want new people, new companies to enter into your business, what do? You stop them from entering into your business. How do you do that? You do that through barriers to entry. आप उनको घुसने ही नहीं देते. How do you do that? There are a couple of things you can do to stop companies from entering into your industry, right? Capital requirement. If your industry, if your business requires huge amount of capital to enter, right? Capital requirement, then it becomes a barrier to entry. I mean, new players do not have so much money. Unless they have so much money, they cannot enter into your business. We took an example of cement industry, steel industry, right? Not everyone can open that particular industry or business because it requires a lot of money. We do not have thousands of crores, so we do not get into cement. If I want to open a shop, I can do that. उसमें 10-15 लाख रुपए लगेंगे. I will have to spend 10-15 lakhs of capital, for which I can get easy loans. I can get money from my friends and relatives. They can pool in money. I can return them the money, or I can take a small loan. I can use my savings, whatever way. 10-15 lakhs is not a very big amount to start a business, right? It's a business after that. You need inventory, you need it. But अगर cement का business खोलना, not possible. Second is economies of scale. You become so big that you enjoy economies of scale, and the new players are not able to do that because they are new players. They do not have so big volumes. They do not have such big production facilities. So economies of scale also functions as a barrier to entry for new industry, for new businesses, right? Then we have switching cost. Switching cost was one of the best things that a company can use as a barrier to entry. Is switching cost was simple. If you make your customer habitual to your product, they will find it very difficult to switch. They find it very difficult to go to some other product and use some other product or service, right? For example, I'll give you an example. Like most of the barbers, right? आपके cutting वाले भैया दीदी, whoever you go to a parlor or a salon or a cutting वाला भैया, they have very high switching cost. You would want to go to the same person क्योंकि उसके साथ आपकी tuning हो जाती है, right? So you want to get your hair cut or trimmed by the same person every time. It is very difficult. You do not feel comfortable to go to a new place because you don't know यार कैसे काट देंगे, right? That is switching cost. Similarly, Microsoft also does that. अभी आप Microsoft के Windows use करते हो, and if I tell you to use some other system, it becomes very difficult. नहीं, I don't know how that works. I will have to understand the software. I'll have to do this. I'll have to do that. So probably when you go into your articleship, you will see you using Tally. Some people are using Zoho Books. Some people are using Google Sheets. Some people are using SAP. Some people are using Oracle. Different accounting softwares. That becomes difficult. Actually, some of the accounting softwares are very, very successful, and new people find it very difficult to enter into that industry, right? New companies, if want to start an accounting software company, it is very difficult because आपको पूरा समझाना पड़ेगा to the customer, and the customer has no time to learn new things for your product. Why will they waste time in learning your product, right? Similarly, then you have brand identity. So it is a barrier to entry. Why can no one else do कौन बनेगा करोड़पति, and why can only Amitabh Bachchan do? why is Amitabh Bachchan the only most successful person who can do KBC? We cannot think of anyone else doing Kaun Banega Crorepati, right? And that is brand identity. He has created a barrier to entry to other actors or other celebrities, because if they do KBC, the customers do not even accept them, because he has created his brand identity with that show, right? He has created his brand identity, and that is how it works as a barrier to entry. Access to distribution channels, that means you can go to any part of the country, you have access to all the distribution around the country, and you can go and create such a barrier that new people cannot have access to the entire country while you have it. Product differentiation, very simple. You do something unique for the customer. कुछ अलग कर दिया, product differentiate कर दिया from your customer, from your competitors, and that's called product differentiation. Then possibility of aggressive retaliation is what I told you, that existing players can use different tactics, tricks, they can use unethical ways, they can use legal protections to stop you from doing business, right? For example, you would have heard about this new Amazon versus Reliance that is going on, right? Future retail को खरीदने के लिए. So these are aggressive retaliations. They were illegal contracts to stop companies from doing certain kind of business. But when they went into that business, that legal thing came into picture. It is becoming difficult for future retail or Amazon to do business now, right? It becomes tough. It is acting like a barrier to entry, because anyone who wants to do the same thing, they will be very protective now. They're like, अरे Amazon तो हम पे केस कर देगा, या Reliance हम पे केस कर देगा, right? Because there are those terms, the law is changing. So possibility of aggressive retaliation from the competitors. They might not like you and they might want to destroy your business, right? Okay, so one solution that Charu is giving to everyone is, if you don't have laptops, split your screen into two screens, one for YouTube and one for the query section. That's a wonderful thing, Charu, right? On your phone, you can do that split screen and do that. Super smart. Oh, okay, Abhijit. So I think, on the PS live wala also you're not able to see. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what the technical issue is, right? But yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, keep posting your queries though, because that helps me to understand that I'm on the right track and you are understanding the concepts. Because this is the only way we can talk, right? So query ko mat chodo. Query, keep putting your thoughts in the query wala thing. Cool. Then was bargaining power of buyer. Simple हम समझ गए, when full knowledge होती है, demand is favorable in terms of contract, easy to switch है substitutes में. So buyers bargain more. When the buyer has more knowledge, when there are more buyers, when the buyers are more powerful than the supplier, buyer has the bargaining power. They will dictate the terms and conditions, क्या होनी चाहिए, price क्या होना चाहिए, सब कुछ buyer खुद ही बता देगा, right? And similarly, we have supplier bargaining power. When less suppliers, more customers, then supplier aa jata hai. Or if your product is very crucial. For example, I am Rolls-Royce, and Rolls-Royce is making aeroplane engines. I am the only biggest company making aeroplane engines, right? Boeing bhi bana raha, or just two companies, we are just making aeroplane engines. 2-3 companies making aeroplane engines. We make very crucial thing for the airline industry. So we can have a lot of bargaining power as a business. I can say, nahi, I will only deliver in 6 months. You see for yourself. मेरे को तो 6 महीने लगेंगे बनाने में. Or I will charge XYZ amount of money for an engine you cannot question. Right? So things like that keep happening. Then the next one we have is called substitute products, right? Which is like providing the same functionality but a different product, providing the same use but a different product, right? Tea and coffee, we took an example. Classic, like momos and samosa, we took an example, right? That is substitute. Momos nahi kha rahe, achhe samosa kha le. Ek hi cheez hai. We just have to eat snacks, right? Or if I won't go for samosa, I'll go for a sandwich wala shop. These are the threat of substitutes. These are the threat of substitutes for a business, right? These are the threats. When you start a business, when you're building up a business, you have to understand all these things, right? Cool. Then we studied about the 5 forces to हमें समझ आ गए. Then how do I understand the competitive landscape? Competitive landscape मतलब मेरा competition कौन-कौन है. who all are my competitors, who all do I have to compete with, इस landscape में competitors कौन है मेरे, is what you have to do. First is to identify the pressures, to evaluate their strength. Pressures तो हमें समझ आ गए, 5 forces हैं, we identify that. Then we evaluate the strength of these forces. कि अच्छा कौन सी बड़ी fierce है, which is a normal one, which is a weak one, which is a moderate or normal, कौन सी बहुत ज़्यादा strong है, which is impacting my business the most. You do that. And finally, you take a collective, you determine the collective strength of all the 5 forces and decide how do I make profits out of this, right? Yeah, it is beneficial to go into that industry. Is it making sense to remain in that industry? How do I earn attractive profits by beating all these competitive forces is what you analyze. Okay, cool. And we also studied by business strategy, chapter 5. यहाँ पे the king is the customer. सब कुछ, all the decisions are made by thinking about the customer. यहाँ पे कंपनी के बारे में कम सोच के कस्टमर के बारे में ज़्यादा सोचा जाता है. At corporate level, the thought process is about the organization as a whole, more focused on organization, less focused on the customer. But at a business level, we convert that organization level ka thought process into a customer-oriented strategy, right? Business strategy talks more about the customers as a foundation. Their thought process, their mind keeps thinking about the customers, right? Okay. Then we studied about the business level strategy jo hai, right? What does it actually solve? It solves identifying and meeting the needs of customers. That is what I told you. Achieving advantage over competitors and avoiding competitive disadvantage, right? एक तो advantage अपनी बनाओ, avoid disadvantage, and first and foremost identify and meet the needs of the key customers. That is when you will be more competitive. That is when you understand the competition. That is when you beat your competition, right? Okay, then we were talking about the basic generic strategies that Michael Porter says ki acha, now that you have understood ki bhai forces kya hai, now that you understand ki what are the different forces of competition, let me also tell you what are the different strategies to fight this competition. What are the different strategies you can use to understand competition, to fight this competition and to win over this competition. So he gave 3 basic strategies. He says, ya to aap cost leader ban jaiye. Either you become the cost leader, that is, you have the lowest cost in the industry because of XYZ reason. You have done innovation kar liya hai aapne, you have technology, you have resources, you have economies of scale, you have good contracts, you have good relations with the supplier. XYZ reason, you reduce your cost so much that people cannot even meet your cost. And that is why you can sell it at a lower price to the customer and gain more market share over your competition, because it is about competitive business strategy. We are talking about competition here, right? Second is differentiation. Differentiation is more about you do something unique. That is what we are going to study from today, right? Aaj ka session starts with differentiation and we will study that. Focused was small. Focused is small is basically so basically focus strategy is basically getting into a niche market, a close group of customers, right? Focused differentiation or focused cost leader. Focus ke andar we have 2 things, focused cost leader or a focused differentiator, right? And that is what we'll also study today, wherein we understand ki aapka your large firms use cost leadership or a differentiation strategy. But smaller firms are more concerned about the focused cost leader or a focused strategy, क्योंकि छोटी firms के पास थोड़ा niche customer होता है. They have customers which are very focused or very, very niche and specific group of customers, right? Any questions so far? Wherein we also studied about cost leadership. यहाँ से एक बारी मैं फिर से शुरू करूँगा, right? यहाँ से I'll start again. But any questions so far? Any questions or any doubts that you have that you want to clarify? कुछ example चाहिए, कुछ concept clear नहीं है, anything that you feel, let me know. I'll wait for another 2 minutes. I'll wait for 2 minutes here so that any questions that you have, because you're switching between apps, so I'll take that time. Anything that you want कि नहीं यार कुछ समझ नहीं आया, like I want to understand this more, I want this to be clarified. I want more answers. So ask me those questions right now. Ask me those questions right now. I'll wait for 2 minutes because you guys are switching between the apps. Cool. Pooja says all clear hai sir. Wonderful, Pooja. I'm happy that the concepts are clear and the examples or the concepts are helping. और क्या चाहिए? Any questions or doubts for anyone, or we can move forward with chapter 5. Chalo, perfect. Tulika says all clear. Charu says अभी तक तो सब clear है. आगे भी clear होगा चारू. 5 chapters तो हो गए. If everything is clear till now, what else do you want? Okay. Right. So let us understand cost leadership. We also talked about cost leadership in the last session. Quickly ये खत्म करते हैं. Right. Cost leadership is simple, which means you are the low cost producer. Right. You are the producer who has the lowest cost. You are the producer who is making the products at the least cost in the industry. आपने कुछ ऐसा कर लिया that you become the cost leader. या तो आपका distribution सबसे सस्ता है, आपका raw material सबसे सस्ता है. Right? So it is a low-cost competitive strategy that aims at broad mass market. Right? Price-sensitive consumers की बात कर रहे हैं हम यहाँ पे, wherein your consumers want products at a low price, then you will have to become a cost leader. Right? When your consumers want products at a low price, you will have to become a cost leader कि आपको भी अपनी cost reduce करनी पड़ जाए. Right? Then we have internal strategies. How do you do that? You share your resources. Our factories share करना शुरू कर देते हो. You share money from people. You share your resources to reduce your cost, right? Different आप strategies devise करना शुरू कर देते हो to reduce your cost. And that is one thing that is very fascinating about cost leadership is that you're always thinking about reducing your cost. And when you're thinking about reducing your cost, that means कि आप price भी कम कर सकते हो consumer के साथ, right? How do you achieve cost leadership is simple. या तो आप demand forecast कर दो, right? How much I have to produce for the customers. If you know how much you have to produce, you can plan accordingly और आपकी cost कम हो जाएगी, right? If I know I have to produce 1 lakh units, I will ask for that much money only. I will create that much raw material only. Wastage नहीं होगी, right? If I can forecast a demand, my wastage reduces, and when my wastage reduces, my cost also reduces. Optimum utilization of the resources, right? आपके पास जितना है, you use it to the maximum capacity. Achieving economies of scale, we know what economies of scale is. जब बहुत ज़्यादा production शुरू, when you increase your production, your per unit cost starts reducing, and that is economies of scale. Standardization, right? Now the question from Charu was, how does standardization help in reducing cost, right? It helps. For example, आप mass production के लिए, that is what the example I was giving. Standardization का एक simple example देता हूँ आपको, right? Then you link it to how the cost reduces. Now you will see that there is a lot of social media air about Mark Zuckerberg only wearing plain t-shirts and jeans, or Steve Jobs used to wear only plain t-shirts and jeans, right? That was standardization. They had standardized their clothes कि भाई you do not have to waste time in thinking what new, नया क्या करें, what do I have to do new, what is the new thing that I have to do, right? What is the new कपड़ा that I buy, what is the new, will I go white के साथ blue पहनूं या green के साथ yellow पहनूं? You do not have to think about that, right? You just have black t-shirts, white t-shirts and black pant, right? So that is how they had standardized. That saved their time, and that is what they said. Now think from a business perspective. If everything is planned and standardized, you do not have to waste time on thinking कि अलग क्या करें. You do not have to waste time thinking about नया क्या करें, right? Everything is standardized. Now a McDonald's want to open a restaurant in Chandigarh, or if a McDonald's wants to open a restaurant in Bangalore, or let's say Chennai, or let's say somewhere in Sikkim, or somewhere in Ahmedabad, the same thing. उनके आर्किटेक्ट को they do not have to think कि अच्छा नहीं यहाँ तो this is how the counter will look, यहाँ अलग है, अहमदाबाद है so let me create run of Kutch theme, अच्छा सिक्किम है तो let me create tea अपना tea garden का theme. There is no theming about that, right? Yes, Jamil, I can look at your queries. I can see your queries, right? So that is how standardization helps you reduce costs, because you're not wasting time on thinking about new things. You are using that time for better things of your business, and that reduces your cost, right? You're able to produce much faster. You're able to take decisions much faster. You're able to scale much faster. आप बहुत जल्दी बड़े हो जाते हो if you standardize your products. If you standardize your business, you can scale easily. Going to any state, any country becomes easy because you do not have to use your brain कि भाई अच्छा सिंगापुर में ऐसा करेंगे, यहाँ पे ऐसा करेंगे, नहीं. Standardized तरीके, this is how we do things, this is how we'll do it everywhere. वो कॉस्ट लीडरशिप स्ट्रैटेजी की एक स्ट्रैटेजी है, राइट? देन नंबर 4 इज इन्वेस्टिंग इन कॉस्ट सेविंग एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजी. अब टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करके यू रिड्यूस योर कॉस्ट. You use technology in your factories, you use technology in your transportation, you use technology in making buying decisions, right? Artificial intelligence, machine learning, AI, ML, you use all these things to build up technologies so that you can reduce your cost. And finally, resistance to differentiation till it becomes essential, right? That means you do not want to produce something unique. कुछ अलग नहीं करना है मुझे. You aim not to do anything new till it becomes extremely important for your business. तभी आप cost leadership कर सकते हो. If you focus on doing something new, something unique, that is differentiation strategy. Cost leadership के लिए differentiation से जितना दूर रहोगे, that is the better. The more disinterested you are in differentiation, the more you can focus on your cost leadership strategy, right? Okay. Then advantages works very simple. Rivalry में क्या होता है? You're likely to avoid price war because your cost is so low. Your cost is so low कि कोई price गिराएगा भी, it doesn't affect you. आपकी cost ही इतनी कम है, right? Buyers, they love your product because you are providing a lot of value to them. If you provide your products at a low cost, you can provide them at a low prices. The buyers will anyway be loving your products, right? But quality देना पड़ेगा. Then you have suppliers, right? Suppliers के साथ क्या होगा? You will be ability, if the supplier increases the prices, you will be easily able to absorb that price. That means कि let's say आपकी cost 10 रुपए है and competitor की cost 20 rupees because you are the cost leader. That means you have the lowest cost. You have 10 rupees cost, आपकी competition की 20 rupees cost. Now if the supplier says that I'm increasing the raw material value by 2 rupees, your 10 rupees becomes 12 rupees, competitor के 20 rupees becomes 22 rupees. So even if the supplier increases the prices, you're still able to absorb that because आपकी बाकी all the other cost structure is lesser than the competitor. Entrants, you create a barrier to entry for the new entrant, like economies of scale when you're studying, right? You produce things at such low cost, the new entrant is not able to match that structure. And it becomes a barrier to entry for the new entrants, right? One thing you need to understand is barrier to entry doesn't mean impossible to get into business. It means difficult, right? That is what I was giving an example, that if there is a barrier, you will have to jump over it and go to the business. It is not going to be a straight, easy सी road नहीं होगी. You will have to jump over that barrier that are created in the business. And that is why barriers to entry are difficult but not impossible, right? They are not a sure shot way of stopping competition. They make competition difficult, right? Substitutes. Now substitutes are like leaders में lower cost to induce existing customers, right? अभी आपके substitutes से fight करने के लिए you can reduce your prices, right? Cost leaders can reduce the prices so that they can fight with their competition. और the substitute products, right? कॉफी का प्राइस गिरा देंगे तो टी वाला अपने आप बाहर हो जाएगा. If you reduce the prices of tea, कॉफी वाला अपने आप बाहर हो जाएगा, right? That is how it happens. Example, पेट्रोल एंड डीजल. आपका substitute products है पेट्रोल एंड डीजल, right? डीजल सस्ता है, पेट्रोल महंगा है, right? So what happens is, if diesel price reduces, people want to buy more of diesel cars, right? So that is how they are beating competition amongst each other. Disadvantage है your competitors can imitate your cost leadership strategy. It is easy to copy. Anyone can understand, अच्छा इसकी वजह से they are reducing cost. Let me also do the same thing. And then you are no longer a cost leader. Because if someone is able to copy your process, your strategy, they will also reduce their cost. Then it becomes difficult for you to be the cost leader. वो फिर cost leader बनने की तैयारी कर ले. Cost leader succeeds if the firm achieves higher sales volume, right? To achieve cost leadership, you should also have high sales. You should also have higher sales volumes. You should have a lot of customers coming into your business, right? It proves to be expensive in the long run, right? Expensive हो जाती है long run में because cost leader को बहुत ज़्यादा पैसा लगाना पड़ता है to understand processes, to reduce costs, to use resources. In research and development, in innovation, R&D में बहुत पैसा लगाना पड़ता है cost leaders को, and that becomes a challenge in the long run because a lot of new companies keep coming in the business. कोई नया आपका copy कर लेता है, someone's copying you, some processes are getting inefficient, teams are not performing well. It becomes an ongoing challenge because you want to be a leader. Think about this. You always want to be a leader in cost. और लीडर बने रहने के लिए इट इज अ कांस्टेंट एंडेवर, इट्स अ कांस्टेंट एक्टिविटी, right? And that is why it becomes expensive in the long run. Number 4 was technological advancement. That is a great threat to cost leaders, right? अगर आप इतना ज्यादा पैसा लगा के if you invest so much of money and time and effort to reduce your cost, but the technology changes, right? Like I was giving you example in the last session. If a company starts making petrol engines and they reduce the cost of the engine from let's say 2 lakh rupees to 90,000 rupees, abhi technology changed and everyone is going to electric vehicles. Their entire cost leadership strategy ki 2 lakh wali cheez will bring at 90,000, it flopped because the technology changes. So technological advancements are a great threat to cost leaders, right? Cost leaders ko puri mehnat waste ho jati hai when the technology gets advanced, when there is something new that is brought into the market, right? And obviously there are changing consumer trends. Customer ko pasand hi nahi hai, customers preferences changes, customers choices changes, right? And that is also one big thing associated risk with any of the strategies, including cost leadership, right? We did this question there. Then we came to differentiation strategy, right? Differentiation strategy, we will start at probably the same flow. So differentiation strategy is about uniqueness. Differentiation strategy means you have to be unique, right? Doing something different than your competition. And because of that, you can charge a premium. We took an example of Japanese anime or Jio in the beginning, they were pricing something. Yeah, Apple अपने phones को जैसे बेचता है, right? And from that example, we studied how to be unique, how to be a differentiated product or service as compared to your competition, right? How do you do that? What are those things? So there can be 3 things that you can do to be a differentiated product in the market. You can actually make innovative products, right? You can establish superiority through pricing, जैसे Apple ने किया है. So Apple says, boss, हमारा तो 1 लाख रुपए का फोन है. We sell phones at 1 lakh rupees. 1,20,000 rupees. Through price, they are saying कि boss, we are differentiator, हम बाकी products से different हैं. If you buy it, right? So this is a premium product. We are one of the top players. They're establishing that image by pricing. They're establishing that image by pricing, right? Okay, then you did not understand point 3 in advantages, supplier 1. I'll come to that. No worries. And third one was organization differentiation, right? Organization differentiation is also simple, which means you create such a brand power that people start relating to your product. Again, the example of Apple. If you buy an Apple product, you start feeling, अरे वाह, मैं तो अमीर feel कर रहा हूँ, feeling very cool, I feel successful, I feel very, very, what do I say? I feel very proud of myself that I'm able to afford such a costly product, right? So that is how you differentiate your product from the competitors. These are 3 ways. आप innovate करें, you do innovation in your products, you bring superiority through pricing, establishing the fact that I'm different from the competition. And third one is you create a brand image, you create a brand loyalty that people want to come to your product because they feel cool, they feel proud, they want to use the product, they're super happy with your product, right? Correct. Absolutely. That is what we were doing, Pooja. Right? That another example we were saying that a lot of people are getting 1 million subscribers on YouTube now, so it becomes common. The differentiation factors are changing, right? But coming to another question that Ananya had is basically she did not understand up to point number 3. No reason. Let us understand very quickly. Is this what you're saying? Oh sorry, advantages में supply. Okay, so very simple है. Suppliers में क्या कह रहे हैं हम लोग? So when you're the cost leader and your supplier increases prices, you still remain the cost leader, right? Supply means raw material. आपकी बाकी cost is also very less, but your raw material, even if your raw material का prices increase, you still remain the cost leader. You're able to absorb that change in prices, right? You're still able to absorb that change in prices. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Very simple. I'll give you an example. Let us say you have a Chinese restaurant. Okay, so you have a restaurant which is Chinese. Now the prices of noodles or oils. Now you are one of the cheapest and the best quality restaurants. So everyone is selling your chopsy and your Manchurian at, let's say, 200 rupees, and you're selling it at 120 rupees. Okay, everyone else in your locality, all the Chinese restaurants are selling for 200 rupees. You're selling for 120 rupees. Now the prices of oils and noodles increase. So you change your price from 120 to 150. Okay, you change your price from 120 to 150. But आपके competitors के लिए भी तो noodles and oil price increase. They change from 200 to 220. आप 30 rupees बढ़ा दो from 120 to 150, and they only increase 20 rupees, that is 200 to 220. You still are the cost leader. आप still 150 में बेच पा रहे हो when they are selling it for 220, right? So that is what we are saying. Suppliers may, when prices increase, you're still able to absorb that price. Okay, awesome. Let us understand differentiation strategy, how to be unique. How to be unique. For example, Jio first started giving free, then some prices, and now they are even costlier than Airtel, right? That is their strategy. But let's come to differentiation strategy, how to be unique, right? अलग कैसे दिखे? How do you differentiate your product? You offer utility, right? You offer utility to your product with your products that match the customer preference. You produce a product or service which the customer wants, right? You improve the performance of your product to be different in the market, to be different from your competition, to be unique from your competition. You improve your performance. You offer high quality of product and service to the customer. Rapid product innovation. You have to keep innovating, right? एक कैमरा, 2 कैमरे लगा दिए, फ्रंट फेसिंग कैमरा आ गया, स्लाइड कैमरा आ गया, टच स्क्रीन आ गया, फेस आईडी आ गया, देन यू हैव फिंगरप्रिंट स्कैनर, देन यू हैव हीट रेजिस्टेंस, अभी यू हैव स्मार्ट वॉचेस, उसमें SpO2 आ गया, देन दे हैव हार्ट बीट, देन दे हैव ब्लड प्रेशर. They keep innovating, right? Rapid product innovation. Taking steps for enhancing brand image and brand value. You do marketing to increase your brand value. Front page news newspaper में आती रहती है, or somewhere on social media you create so many ads. On digital marketing you do so many ads. Enhancing your brand image. TV पे you do ads, radio पे you do ads, right? Then you influencer marketing you do ads. So enhancing your brand image, right, is how you can be different from your competition, right? Fixing product prices. For example, you will see Country Delight करके, this is a company which keeps posting ads on YouTube and everything, right? They are trying to enhance their brand image to look different from their competition. कि नहीं देखो हम कितनी अच्छी कंपनी है, हम इतना पैसा खर्च कर रहे हैं, these are our reviews, people are liking it, we can spend so much money, we are a big company, we provide fresh to home milk and everything. So they're enhancing their brand image, right? Fixing product prices, that means based on unique features of the product and service, you increase your product prices. You fix your product prices कि अच्छा ये 1 लाख रुपए का क्यों है? क्योंकि you have unique features. Why is iPhone so costly? Because it has unique features. build quality है, it does not break, scratch resistance, this proof, that proof, water resistance, top quality camera. They're giving unique features and then charging product, and they're fixing the prices of the product to be high or low, depends on them. Differentiation doesn't only mean high prices. That is one way. आप low prices के साथ भी differentiation कर सकते हैं, right? You can still do differentiation with low prices. Cool. So these are like 6 common ways. This is not the end of the list. There is XYZ. Business strategy is about being creative. But the syllabus restricts us to some common ways so that you get an idea कि अच्छा ऐसे होता है. How businesses are doing that is entirely very creative ways people do that, right? Let's say, for example, I'll tell you Red Bull. Now, Red Bull, that drink, is doing a lot of differentiation. बहुत सारी energy drinks. You have Gatorade, you have Red Bull, you have this drink, you have that drink. You have a lot of sports drinks out there. You have a lot of unique drinks out there. बहुत ज़्यादा बड़ी market है. But Red Bull has created a unique image. It gives you wings. It has created a marketing campaign. It is one of like a can for 150, 170 rupees. It is selling that can, right? Power booster. People say बहुत energy आ जाती है. All this is marketing. They're enhancing brand image, providing value to the customer, improving performance, doing some innovation, providing unique product, and selling a can for 170, 180 rupees, which tastes not even that good, right? So that is how you create a unique identity. You differentiate your product from the competition, right? Okay, let us move on to the advantages. Achha, differentiation के advantages क्या है? What are the advantages of differentiation? Number one, rivalry. You're able to beat rivalry क्योंकि आपके पास brand loyalty है, right? So iPhone, let us take an example of iPhone only. Right? iPhone is a classic example of differentiation. So rivalry, you have so much brand loyalty. People who use iPhones or Apple, they want to use Apple and iPhone irrespective. If you tell them Samsung use kar lo, they will say boss tu use kar, hame bhi chahiye. Right? So that is, they have created a brand loyalty around their product. So rivalry, it is easy for them to beat rivalry. They are safeguarded from rivalry. They do not care about rivalry. Buyers, right? No negotiations for price as they get special features. Have you ever seen people bargaining at an iPhone saying कि नहीं अभी 1,20,000 का नहीं ठीक ठीक लगा लो 80,000 का कर लो 70. People are not even interested in doing negotiations for your product. They think कि नहीं यार इसकी तो value इतनी है. People start connecting, people start paying that premium amount for your product when you have differentiation, right? So buyers also rarely negotiate. People might wait for sales, but price negotiate नहीं करेंगे, right? Suppliers afford to absorb higher costs through premium prices, right? That means if iPhone is selling it at 1,20,000, right? iPhone is selling their premium phone at 1,20,000. The cost of producing the phone is, let's say, 30,000 rupees, okay? Already 3 times पैसा ले रहा है, already 5 times पैसा ले रहा है, right? So even if the prices increase, even if the raw material price increase, they're able to absorb that because they have premium prices pehle. So from 30 rupees, even if the cost increase to 50,000 rupees, still they will make good money because they're selling for 1,20,000, right? 30,000 to 50,000 cost ho gaye. Even if they do not increase their prices, they will still be making good money, right? Entrants. New entrants, already it is very difficult for new entrants to get into an industry where a differentiation is happening. However, if you stop innovating, then you will be pushed out. To remain a differentiator, you have to keep innovating. Abhi Apple has to keep innovating, varna Samsung, Oppo, Xiaomi will bring certain new feature and then they will be out of business. Then people will start moving to a new product, right? To a new feature. And that is why Apple has to keep innovating and other companies are following it. 3 camera piche diya, every phone has 3 cameras now, right? They did that bezel thing, everyone is doing that bezel thing. They're copying their designs, piche mirror diya, they have created piche mirror, right? So people are copying their products because they're innovating and that is why they are the differentiator, right? Number 5 is substitutes. Substitutes cannot replace the differentiated products because why? Because you have a brand loyalty. आपने पहले ही कुछ unique दे दिया. So उसका substitute मिलना तो बहुत ही difficult है, right? Finding a substitute for an iPhone or a cell phone is very difficult, right? So the substitute is not a problem because there you cannot replace a differentiated product. You cannot find a substitute for a differentiated product generally. Okay, cool. But what about disadvantages? Advantage समझ आ गई, but what about disadvantages of differentiation strategy? Number one, it is difficult to sustain in the long run. It is quite difficult to sustain differentiation and uniqueness in the long run because it demands a lot of effort, money, resources. अभी Apple को everyday innovation करना है, so it will require a lot of money, a lot of resources, a lot of good people in the company, right? It is very difficult. I'm saying difficult, not impossible. Difficult to sustain in the long run, right? Charging too high prices may cause the customer to switch to another alternative, right? So now here comes one of the biggest things. If you would have seen, when OnePlus came into market, OnePlus Aya or Samsung brought in their flagship Samsung Note series, right? Samsung Note series is a killer product. So Samsung Note 10, Note 11 with that stylus pen, or OnePlus came with OnePlus Nord or OnePlus 90, OnePlus 11, whatever that is coming, right? Now people are switching to those phones because they thought we are Apple just the same features, same speed, same camera. We're getting the same quality at half the price. I'm getting a OnePlus Nord at 35, 36, 37,000 rupees. An iPhone is for 60, 65,000. Same features, same everything I'm getting. Let me just buy OnePlus, right? I will buy OnePlus because the customer understands the same feature hai and the price is double for iPhone. So let me go for OnePlus. Then where differentiation fails to work if basis is something that is not valued by the customer, right? Now let us suppose I create something which is very unique, but it is not valued. Customer ko chahiye. If the customer doesn't even want that, then my differentiation is a big flaw. If the customer does not even value my product or my differentiation or my uniqueness, it is a failed product for me, right? Okay. Any questions so far? We'll take a minute for any questions or doubts that you guys have. And then we'll take a 10 minutes break. It's 8 o'clock. So let us just go stretch ourselves a little. We've been sitting for an hour or so, right? If you have any questions or doubts, please type in. Otherwise, we will, and if you have any questions, let me just wait for another 1 minute. Otherwise, we'll go for a 10 minutes break. It is 8 o'clock for me. We'll be back at 8:10. Any questions, please type in. I know the chat box issue hai aaj, so I'll wait for more time. If no questions, just give me a yes, got it, all clear. That also helps. I think chat box ka issue hai. How will we do quiz today, yaar? Okay, awesome. Jameel says it's clear. Thank you, Jameel, for saying that. I'll wait for another 2-3 people to tell me if it's clear, and then we will go for a short 10 minutes break. Cool. Mervin also says it's clear. Alright guys, so what we'll do is, it's 8 o'clock. Let's meet at 8:10. Be back. We have good quiz coming up. We have a good tough quiz coming up. I want you to be active in that. Right, so let's quickly take a 10 minutes break and join back. I would request you guys also to be back quickly so that we can quickly start with where we left off. Right, I'll ask the technical team, right? I agree. It's difficult to watch on YouTube and type on आपका ये app, right? It's difficult. I understand. Let me just talk to the technical ones. Probably they'll resolve this issue in the app that you guys are not able to access, right? Issue आ रहा है app में. I'll just put forward your views with the technical team for sure. But quickly, let us all be back. And if you're back, just give me a yes, yes. Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone who is typing. We are back. Right? Thanks Chaitanya, Harsh, Jamil is there, Tulika, Vivek. Awesome. I'll just wait for another 30 seconds, boss. Right? So that others do not miss on it. And probably they can also, we'll be kind enough to just wait for everyone. But so far, I think the concepts are clear. The things are making sense, right? I think the things are making sense and the concepts are also clear. I hope so. That is what I hope. If not, oh, awesome. Chalo, Rohan is also there, Nitya is there, Pooja is there, Charu is there. Cool. We're just left with आपका focused and best cost another 15-20 minutes. And then we'll straightforward get into that quiz. Okay. So let us just start with आपका focus strategies, right? What we are talking about here is understand this. बहुत कुछ है इस slide में बहुत ज़्यादा समझ नहीं आ रहा है. But let us simplify. Let us quickly simplify. What I'm trying to say here is, see, what is happening is I'm talking about competitive advantage. Okay, so we are talking about competitive advantage here, and we're talking about competitive scope. So what is happening is, if my market is broad, if I want to make a product for the masses, I can see your query, Ria. I can. If you're typing there, I can see that. And I would really say that you guys please start typing in the query, even if it's a challenge. Just do it for today, please. Because we are going to do the quiz thing, and quiz mein I need your answers. Okay. Oh, okay. So Monday evening se ho raha hai. This is what Jimmy says. Probably I'll just put forward again. Ki, we should resolve this, otherwise it will be difficult for everyone, right? Okay. Back to understanding what this particular slide says. It says कि भाई, if your market is broad, you want to focus on a mass market. ठीक है? आप बहुत सारे mass market को focus करना चाहते हो. You want to be the seller. You want to be a brand of the masses, right? Like Patanjali है, like Boat है, like HUL है, Brook Bond Tea है, right? All right. So Vandana is there. Hina is also there. I can see your queries as well. Thank you. So if you want to target a broad mass market, you will either go for cost leadership or differentiation, right? But if you have a narrow market, आपको बहुत ही छोटा group of customers, you want to focus to a small group of customers, then you go for a focus strategy. And focus can be of two types. It can be focused cost leadership or it can be focused differentiation, right? It can be both the things, focused cost leadership or focused differentiation, right? So focus strategy is to concentrate on a particular segment better than the competitor, right? Who serve a broader market or the same group of customers, right? Classic examples of focus market are like your Rolex watches, your Ferrari cars, right? These are very focused markets. They have very focused. इनको सिर्फ अमीरों को target करना. They want to target the ultra rich or people who can afford. Even if you're not ultra rich, you can spend 5-6 lakhs on a wristwatch. Go ahead, buy a Rolex, right? Or if you can spend 4-5 crores on a car, go buy a Ferrari, right? So that is what a focus strategy is. You're focusing on a very small group of customers. आपको पूरे इंडिया को नहीं बेचना. Your focus is not to sell to the entire India. Your focus is not to sell to entire China or Japan or your Afghanistan, Pakistan, or you're not wanting to sell to any of these entire populations. Focused. हर country के top 1% rich people you're targeting. That is one kind of a focus strategy. Another focus strategy can be, now think about this. If I open, I'll just give you an example and to understand कि सिर्फ luxury products are not focused market. Focused market छोटी भी होती है. Now what if I start a restaurant and I sell full veg thali at ₹10. I am selling veg thali at ₹10 for people who cannot afford to go to a restaurant and spend like 200-300 rupees for one time meal, right? I'm selling thali at ₹10. Is that a focus strategy? Right? Is that a focus strategy? Yes, that is a focus strategy. Correct? If I'm selling a thali for ₹10 for people who cannot afford 200 or 300 rupees of a meal for themselves in a particular, like a lunch or a breakfast or a dinner, that again is also a focus strategy, right? That also is a focus strategy. Correct? It is not just about being luxury. It is also about thinking at the other side of the house. And on the other side of the bridge also is also a focus strategy, right? Okay. They are most effective when distinctive preferences. They are most effective at distinct preferences. When the consumers have distinct preference, that means the consumers, absolutely yes, right? That is what's saying. Okay, so Jamil says in Mumbai there is like Shiv Bhojan, 10 rupees. That is a focus strategy, right? Jamil, you wouldn't want to go and try that. Even if you can, you are not his market. You can go and buy that product. Similarly for Ferrari, you can go and buy a Ferrari. They will not say no to you, but you're not their target market, right? Similarly, like you're saying, Shiv Bhojan in Mumbai selling for ₹10 a thali. The target market is not you and me. The target market is someone else. It's a narrow market. They are not focusing on everyone. They're just focusing on a certain set of group of people, right? In that particular area. Shiv Bhojan is also not saying कि पूरे इंडिया में मैं अपनी चेन खोल दूंगा, right? Shiv Bhojan is also not saying कि इंडिया के हर कोने में I will have this shop selling at 10 rupees. That can be, but then it will become cost leadership. And for a business, it has to be profitable, right? If it is a not for profit business, then it's a different thing. But if he or she is doing a business for profit and saying कि India के हर कोने में I'll sell it for 10 rupees, then it is cost leadership, right? तभी वो mass market में चला गया. But if you want to say कि नहीं, in this particular area of Mumbai, I want to cater to all the poor people or all the not so affluent people in my area, and I will sell it for 10 rupees, that's a focused market. Right? That's a focused market. Really depends on how far and wide you're thinking. दुनिया के हर I would want to sell my product to everyone in the world for 10 rupees. That's a cost leadership, right? Okay. Now, focus strategy is most effective. We're talking about focus strategy. They are most effective when the customer has distinct preference, right? When the customer has distinct preference. Okay. So we have a question from Brinda which says, but if here we are selling the thali at low cost, then to cover our profit, our cost for normal veg thali would also increase. See, that really depends, Brinda. That really depends. I am just giving you an example. For 10 rupees, it can be for 30 rupees. He or she might be making some profit, 2-3 rupees. Even if they're making 2-3 rupees profit, right? That is like 1-2% of profit on 30 rupees. 30 rupees for 3 rupees is 10% profit, right? 30 रुपए की थाली बेच के 3 रुपए कमा रहे हो, that is also 10% profit, right? Absolutely. I'm just giving you an example on focused market. Even and for a business there has to be profitable. Simple here. A business has to be profitable. Then only it makes sense to do business, right? If you're doing business without profits, it's not for profit. It's more like social work, right? And that is also good. That is your preference. That is how things happen, right? Not everyone can make profits. Not everyone should make profits. There have to be someone who are helping others as well. But majority businesses are done for profits, right? That is what the essence of business is. Cool. So when we talk about focused markets, your customer should also have a preference. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि आप focus कर रहे हैं, you are focusing on a particular market, and your customer says, boss, मैं तो कुछ भी ले लूंगा. I don't have a preference. I don't want to buy a Ferrari. मुझे तो कोई भी गाड़ी चलेगी. Then Ferrari doesn't have a focus strategy. कोई sense नहीं बनेगी for Ferrari to build a Ferrari if the customer says, मैं मुझे तो कोई भी sports car चाहिए. The customer should have a distinct preference. Boss, I want a Ferrari only. I want a Rolex only, right? That is when focus strategies are more successful. They are most effective when the customer also has a distinct preference. I want a wristwatch which has diamonds in that. I want a car which has a top speed of 600 kilometers. I'm just giving an example, 400, 500. That is what is distinct preference the customer also has, right? And the rival firms are not attempting to specialize in the same target segment, right? And the rival firms are not attempting to specialize in the same target segment. Now, Audi, Mercedes, your BMW are different from your Ferrari, right? They are in a different segment. Ferrari is in a different segment altogether. Even if your rivals, even if they are similar, very big brands, they're not attempting to specialize in Ferrari kind of cars. They have basic cars. BMW, Audi, or Mercedes have basic cars also, right? Basic sedans, basic hatchbacks. They're not attempting to specialize in the area of Ferrari, right? So that is where Ferrari again becomes a very focused thing. यार Ferrari वाले सिर्फ Ferrari खरीदते हैं, right? So focus strategy depends on industry segment of sufficient size with growth potential and not crucial to the success of other major competitors. That means focus strategy doesn't mean that your industry should be not growing. Your business and industry should be growing. Your industry and focused market should be growing. A Ferrari, if the market is not growing, if not more people want to buy Ferrari का भी धंधा बंद हो जाएगा, right? Ferrari will also be out of business, and that is not what a business is all about, right? So your industry, your potential growth market, your focused market should also be growing, right? Okay, so Sonal tells me that this Shiv Bhojan thing is a government of Maharashtra thing. So that is why it's not a business. It's more like a social welfare scheme. Abhi, you tell me Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee, it's not a business, it's a scheme, right? So maybe that example is more onto the social side. It's a public scheme and it's not a business. But if someone is doing a similar business, that is what we were talking about, right? You get the essence. Absolutely, why not? Don't you think Ferrari or Rolex will be profitable? If you are focusing on narrow market only, will it be profitable? Absolutely, you can make much better profits. If not in absolute numbers, surely in percentages, right? You might not be, so Ferrari might not be as big as Apple or Google or Microsoft. But this doesn't mean Ferrari profits even. Ferrari is actually making more percentage profits than any other company. Or Rolex is making fantastic profits as compared to Apple or as compared to Microsoft. These companies are also really, really good, but they're mass products. And Ferrari or Rolex are very niche markets and they're still profitable, right? So being into a narrow market doesn't mean you don't make profits. You can actually make really good profits there, right? Now I'll give you another example. Okay, I'll give you an example. These classes that all these teachers and everyone in entire India, now Byju's is doing a very specific thing. Okay, so I'll give you classic example. Byju's has nursery to 12th, all the entrance exams, sab kuch cover karta hai. Byju's is doing everything under the sun, and it's a mass product. Now, if you remember, there are certain institutes, there are certain coaching centers, there are certain classes that go for CAT, right? आपका MBA entrance specific or UPSC specific coaching centers, right? There are these focused strategies. Abhi UPSC coaching centers also have very focused strategies. We just want to target people who are studying for UPSC, for IAS and exams, right? And Byju's is saying, I'll cover everything. Does it mean that UPSC coaching centers are not profitable? They are 100% profitable. They are making more profits than Byju's probably. Byju's the loss man. These UPSC coaching centers might be making crores of profits while Byju's is in loss, right? So their focus strategy is still profitable. Just an example, right? Because I think we students and we Indians understand this much better than paise ki baat hoti hai, right? We always try to think about how much money they are making. If the students have 500 people sitting in a hall, 20,000 of fees, or 10 crore rupees kamaa. So you understand that's a focused market. They're still profitable. They're doing business, right? That is their business. And look at ICAI selling this for free, right? This is social welfare scheme. Now ICAI का तो loss हो रहा है इसमें ideally, right? ICAI is doing a focus strategy. ICAI doing these sessions, doing these classes. It's a strategy to beat competition, right? Ideally, think about this. ICAI doing these live classes free of cost is actually a strategy for ICAI to beat competition, to retain customers, to retain the students within the organization, right? Because they are the heading, they are the Bible, they are the temple of this particular course, right? They want to retain, they want to give it out to free. They want to expand their horizon as an institute, right? That is their strategy to beat competition which is coming from outside. And still they're not making profits. ICAI is not making profits here, but still it's doing. That's a social welfare. But on the same side, like a lot of coaching is done outside. We all know that it's out there, and they're doing it for profit. They're making good money. It's a focus strategy. A teacher only for accounts, a teacher only for audit, a teacher only for SFM, a teacher only for like internal audit or statutory audit, like probably different subjects. These are focus strategies, right? These are focus strategies. Okay, why it should not be crucial? Why it should not be crucial for competitors? Because they're not even trying. It is your market. It is your short market, and you are the best in that market. Right? Focus strategy means you are the best in your market, and that is why others are not, the competitors are not crucial for you. Okay? Competitors are not very crucial for you because people want your product. You have a focused market, you have built an image, and people want your product. People who want to buy Rolex want to buy Rolex. People who want to buy Ferrari want to buy Ferrari. Right? People who want to buy certain XYZ, people who want to buy a premium Louis Vuitton bag, or people who want to buy Chanel, all these big brands, they will buy that product. Right? They do not have to worry about competitors. Right, Charul? You have to have certain like cash flow to, you cannot give everything for free, right? You have to take up operations, 10, 15,000 people working in an institute. You cannot expect that to function for you. Where will that money come from, right? Somewhere you will have to meet your expenses also. इतना तो leverage you will have to give to the institute, right? You cannot just say कि सब कुछ free कर दो. It's still one of the cheapest courses in India, I can tell. Even your college fees is more than ICAI. And you know how well we study in colleges and what kind of an attendance we have in colleges, right? That is a fact. All right, let us go on to understand focus strategy from two perspectives, right? Let us go on to understand focused your focused market, your focused strategy from two perspectives, right? Number one is focused cost leadership, and number two is focused differentiation. जो हमने cost leadership में, जो हमने differentiation में पढ़ा था, what we studied there, the same thing you apply to a narrow market. Now, cost leadership and differentiation was there for broad markets. Cost leadership and differentiation was there for broad markets, right? यहाँ पे broad market के बारे में. Now, apply the same logic, apply the same rule to a narrow, to a specific kind of customers, specific group of customers, and it becomes a focused cost leadership and it becomes a focused differentiation, right? Cool. So, competing based on price to target a narrow market. you're competing in the narrow market. You're competing in the narrow market. When I say competitors are not crucial, that doesn't mean there is no competition. There is competition in focused market. There is competition in focused market, but it is less relevant. It is less relevant than in a mass market, right? Because everyone in the focused market has they bring something unique, or they bring something focused to their table for the customer. कि Rolex वाला Rolex पहनता है, then Philip Patel वाला Philip Patel पहनता है, or some other smartwatch or some other watch, people are wearing that, right? A firm that follows this strategy does not necessarily charge the lowest price in the industry. When I say focused cost leadership, it does not necessarily mean कि ये सबसे सस्ता प्रोडक्ट बेचते हैं. They are the cost leader, not the lowest price provider. इनकी cost सबसे कम है. The cost is the lowest, but the selling price is not the lowest, right? A firm that follows this strategy does not necessarily charge the lowest prices in the industry. Instead, it charges low prices related to other firms that compete within the target market, right? Abhi Rolex and Omega, they strategically price their watches to gain advantage over others. I'll tell you how. Now, Rolex is doing a cost leadership focused strategy. Now you will say, right? Absolutely. The child says she's thankful for the classes. Even I'm thankful. I wish these classes were there at my time, right? I would have taken advantage of all the classes. But here, think about this. Rolex is a focused strategy. Okay? Rolex is only worn by the very rich people. People who can afford a watch for 2-3 lakh rupees. But still, it is a cost leader, focused cost leader strategy. How? Because you will see great or महंगे brands. When you study about this watch market now, you will understand that Rolex is one of the cheapest luxury watches. You will understand that it has increased its market share amongst the focused market of ultra rich. A lot of people buy Rolex more. You will see out of all these things, Rolex is the most famous, right? Even if you and me cannot buy a Rolex right now, probably in the next 10 years we can. But if you and me cannot buy a Rolex right now, we still know about Rolex, right? We still know about Rolex, but I'm pretty sure you do not know about other luxury watches. Like there is Pratik Patel, or there is Philip Patel. There is this brand called like Swiss watchmaker, and the watches are for 20-25 lakhs, right? The watches start from 20-25 lakhs. Right? So what is happening is Rolex is selling for 2-3 lakh rupees. It's still a luxury watch. It's still a focused market, but the prices are relatively lower than the competitive market, right? Like BMW and Audi. Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. A general middle class, which is like the maximum percentage of India's population, we cannot afford a BMW or a Mercedes at this point in time. I am pretty sure, and I wish every one of us becomes so successful to afford that. Even if you want to buy or not, that's your choice. But you can afford to buy that, right? But right now, given the situation in the country, it is still a very focused market, right? People who can spend 30-40 lakhs on a car, they will only buy a BMW or Mercedes or an Audi, right? But they're still lower than all the other. Lamborghini khareedna hai aapko. If you want to go and buy a Lamborghini, if you want to go and buy a premium other brand of a car, right? It's difficult. It's still lower. It's in a focused market, but the prices are relatively lower. That is also focused cost leader strategy. Even though they're lowering their prices, right? You will even find Audi coming at 27-28 lakhs also. Slowly and steadily, they're moving to mass production. Slowly and steadily, they're coming into your mass broad market. Mercedes bringing in your hatchbacks, right? A-class and everything at 23-24 lakhs. They're wanting to come into main segment, right? But ideally, they were doing a focused cost leadership, wherein their prices still target the focused market, but they're less than the competitors. It doesn't mean कि बहुत ही सस्ता है. It means it is relatively lower. Okay. Now, what about focus differentiation? Focus differentiation, for classic example, आपको Ferrari मिले, right? This is the classic example is Ferrari. It is a focused market and it is a differentiated market. उसने अपना exclusivity बना दिया. Ferrari has created an exclusivity around the brand, right? This Ferrari brand or very big luxury brands, and they have created an exclusivity. Like Lamborghini hai, Ferrari hai. You will only see big industrialists or big film celebrities or celebrities buying Ferrari and your big cars, right? Lamborghini or Ferrari. It is exclusive. It's a focused market, but they have differentiated their market. They have differentiated themselves from the other brands. They have been able to differentiate themselves as compared to other products, and that is why they have a focused differentiation strategy. And they have a focused differentiation strategy wherein they have a focused market, but they have differentiated themselves from the competition. Right? They have differentiated themselves from the competition. And that is why that is a focused differentiation strategy. Now, while we understand what is a focused strategy, there are simple things. कि आप exclusivity कैसे लाते हैं? How do you target exclusivity? How do you become an exclusive brand? Right? You select specific niche, right? Niche means a specific area where you are master, a specific area where you are an expert. You identify your brand specific area where you are an expert. Okay. Now I'll give you a very simple example. Let us say you have a boutique. Okay. You are a fashion designer and you see that I am really good at designing lehengas. I don't know how suits are made. I might know how other things are done. I know how to create a suit, a salwar or everything. But lehengas are my expertise. I know and I'm really good at designing lehengas. So you select a specific niche, right? You select a specific niche and say, boss, मैं लहंगे बहुत अच्छे design कर सकता हूँ. That is my focus market. I'll focus on making lehengas now, right? That is what you will focus on. Creating superior skills. Now you create skills, you develop your skills in designing and making lehengas, right? You generate high efficiencies by serving such niche markets. You focus on bringing in customers, high efficiency. इतने अच्छे लहंगे बना रहे that people are doing word, you're doing mouth publicity. All the brides want to wear your lehengas. You see Sabyasachi, right? Sabyasachi is a focused differentiation market. Sabyasachi has done a focused differentiation market. Manish Malhotra has done a focused differentiation market, right? They have created an exclusivity. They have created, not general people cannot buy their lehengas. 11-12 lakh ka lehenga hai, right? Manish Malhotra is selling for 5-6 lakhs a lehenga, right? And you just have to wear that for one night. And they have created that exclusivity. They are serving niche markets. They have created superior skills in that designing, right? Developing innovative ways in managing the value chain, right? Even if it is for 10 lakhs, even if the lehenga is for 10 lakhs, people are crazy about it. People value that. They say, boss, maza aa gaya. Like, I was the star of the wedding. It was my wedding and I'm the star of the wedding. It gives you that feel. They have created that value chain. Value for money create kar diya. Even if it is charging 10 lakhs for a lehenga, he or she has created a value to the customer. Customer says, boss, itna to banta hai, right? Even if you and me don't understand, but the customer who are buying, they understand the value. They want to pay that much money to create that value of their product, right? And that is focused differentiation. That is creating exclusivity, right? Focused differentiation can be your core competency. No, that is a strategy. Core competency, Jameel, is a skill. Okay. Your focused differentiation is a strategy in which you have a skill. That skill will be your core competency. Core competency is a club of multiple skills wherein you develop a particular skill and use it to create a competency for yourself. Focused differentiation is a strategy. It's a broad strategy within which you have skills, and that skill can be your core competency. That is true. ये वाला skill of designing lehengas can be a core competency, but the strategy is focused differentiation. Focus differentiation cannot be your core competency. The skill on which to develop your focus differentiation can be your core competency. That is true. Okay. Cool. The advantages are premium prices. 10 lakh ka lehenga, 5 crore ki gaadi, right? You can charge premium prices for your focus differentiation because you have a focused market and you are differentiated. Go and charge XYZ amount from the customer. Due to tremendous expertise of offerings, rivals and new entrants find it difficult to compete, right? Abhi Ferrari ka competition karna is difficult. To compete with Manish Malhotra or Sabyasachi right now is difficult. Right? It's difficult, not impossible. It is difficult to compete. Somebody someday will come and beat their company. They will come and everyone has a life cycle, right? Product life cycle padha tha. Growth hogi, mature hoga and decline hoga. There will be decline of every product. There will be decline of every market. That is how it is, right? It is difficult to compete, not impossible. Okay, cool. Disadvantages: lacking in distinctive competencies may not be able to pursue focus strategy. If you do not have a particular skill, तो आप focus differentiation कर ही नहीं सकते. You for your business want to do a differentiation, focus differentiation strategy. But if you do not have a particular skill set, you do not have a distinctive, very unique skill set, you cannot do this strategy, right? It's a disadvantage. You need to develop a skill pehle to develop a focus differentiation. Due to limited demand, costs are high, which can cause problems, right? Abhi, if let's say Ferrari, right? The factory lagi hui hai, the designers are paid salaries, the engineers are high-end engineers, they are paid extremely high salaries. And if the people start buying less of Ferrari, if people say, yeah, COVID aa gaya, let me save money. Even the ultra rich are saying that it's COVID, 2-3 years, I do not know. They have lost money in the stock market, their investments flopped. Their own businesses, people who can own a Ferrari, their businesses are also flopping. So they decide, ki, nahi, I will not buy Ferrari for the next 2-3 years. Or I will not spend on Rolex for the next 2-3 years. Let me save money. Abhi Ferrari or Rolex ki cost to wahi pe hai, and the sales drop. And because it's a very close-knit, small market, abhi Ferrari selling 20 cars in a year, let's say, for example, and out of that 10 people decide not to buy in the next 2-3 years, 50% market chalegi. 50% of the sales are gone, right? But the cost remains the same. That can be a problem in focused market because you have limited amount of customers, right? So even if they start going away, it becomes difficult to retain the market. In the long run, niche could disappear. Abhi, that's what I'm saying. Manish Malhotra or Sabyasachi selling for 7-8 lakhs a lehenga. If let's suppose there is a new designer, she starts designing lehengas even better than them and starts selling at, let's say, 70,000-80,000 rupees, right? And their innovation, they are not able to design new, they are copying and they're just repeating their old designs. People say, boss, purana ho gaya, abhi maza nahi, abhi Sabyasachi mein creativity nahi rahi. Now Manish Malhotra doesn't have that creativity. I want something new. Your focus differentiation will erode. People will go away. So your niche, your expert area will start disappearing in the long run, right? That is one of the disadvantages of focus differentiation, right? Abhi, for example, OTT, right? You remember old Shah Rukh Khan movies? The old Shah Rukh Khan movies had all that dance and everything. Abhi, OTT web series, mein, there is no dance, there is no music, there are no 7-8 songs within the movies. So if I am a choreographer, right? Think from this perspective of a business perspective. I'm a choreographer. Earlier, I had so many opportunities, right? I had relatively much more opportunities कि movies में dance होता है. अभी web series में तो dance ही नहीं होता, right? So my expert area, my differentiation, my focused market of filmmaking is eroded. And in the long run, it has eroded. All the actors are going to OTT. OTT में तो dance और गाना होता ही. There is no dance, there is no setup, there is no traveling to the world, different locations पे जाके dancing on the hills. Nothing is happening, right? So in the long run, your differentiation, your focus differentiation is eroding. Right? That's just an example. Okay. Now there is a very beautiful concept of best cost provider strategy. Okay. Now what we'll study is called best cost provider strategy. what this says is कि छोड़ दो low cost, छोड़ दो differentiation, छोड़ दो focused, right? Ignore all of this. Just focus on one thing which involves all of this. Okay? आप cost leader हो या you are doing a differentiation or you're going for a focused market, leave all of that. Focus on one thing which combines all of these. Focus on one thing that combines all of things. And that is more value for money. Simple. Remember this. The companies who are giving value for money, that is called best cost provider strategy. They're called best cost provider strategy, right? More value for the money. Classic examples, Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo smartphones, right? They perform exactly the same. They have touch screen, they have 64 megapixel cameras, they have 6 GB RAM, they have all the features that a high-end phone has. They have latest software, they have all the latest everything, all the apps function, you can play all the games on it, great cameras, great usability, less lagging, everything is good. And they're selling for 15, 16,000. They're selling for 12, 13,000, right? Providing value for me. Providing value for, अरे मैंने 10,000 अगर खर्चा है, so I get everything that is out. I'm getting the latest technology. Anyway, if I'm buying a phone for 7,000 also, I'm getting the latest technology. उसमें fingerprint scanner भी है. It has face recognition also. It has everything. And that is called providing value for money. A brand which provides value for money is called a best cost provider strategy, right? It emphasizes on both things, low cost and upscale differences. That means एक तो low cost है and दूसरा it is differentiation. It is somewhat doing something unique also, right? It is providing everything at low cost and it is also doing something unique, right? At low cost, it is doing differentiation. At low cost, it is doing differentiation and that is called best cost provider. 13,000 में fingerprint scanner आ गया, 17,000 में retina scanner आ गया. This is providing value for money. In 17,000, I am getting what a 1 lakh rupee phone is giving me. I'm getting at 17,000. Might be the quality might be less, but the difference is also 5 times. 1 lakh का phone या 20,000 का phone, I'm getting the exactly same technology. The quality might be different, but 5 times का difference तो नहीं होगा, right? They're providing half the difference. Probably they can be half as effective, but the price is 5 times less. It is called best cost provider strategy. Providing something at low cost while giving the latest differentiated things, right? You might not be the innovator. You might be copying an innovation and selling it at low cost, right? In short terms, China is a best cost provider strategy. China ने कोई cost leadership तो पहले focus किया, then they focused on differentiation. They said, boss, अगर हमको बड़ा बनना है, let us do best cost provider strategy, low cost, latest technology, differentiated technology, let us combine that. Let us, somebody is doing innovation, हम copy करके उसको low cost पे बेचते हैं, right? Best cost provider strategy. Upscaling differences. You are also changing your product. You are also innovating your product. To reduce the cost also you need innovation. कुछ रेटिना स्कैनर को कॉपी करके बनाने के लिए भी तो इनोवेशन चाहिए. यू हैव टू डू रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट कि भाई that particular technology has to be imitated. That also requires R&D, that also requires innovation, but you're doing that at low cost. And combining those two things becomes very powerful, and it is called best cost provider strategy. That is Xiaomi, Oppo kar rahe hain, right? This is best cost provider strategy, right? It is done by offering lower price than the comparable quality and features offered by their rivals, or by charging similar prices as the competition and giving higher quality. What you can do is, या तो you charge less price and give the same quality. You charge less price, give the same quality, or you charge same price and give higher quality, right? या तो if your Samsung is for 20,000 and your Xiaomi is for 15,000, Xiaomi is giving best cost provider. It is doing everything that Samsung phone gives in 20,000 ka phone. It is giving in 15,000 ka phone. That is one thing for best cost provider. Or it can say Samsung is giving 20,000 ka, I will also give 20,000 ka, but I will have 3 more features in my phone, right? Either I charge less, give the same quality, or I charge same and give more quality, right? Give more features in my product or service. Those are two ways you can go for a best cost provider strategy. Charge less, give the same quality and features. Charge same and give higher quality and features, right? That is also best cost provider strategy the two ways. Simple enough, right? If you charge the same price and give higher quality, you charge less price, give the same quality. Best cost provider strategy. Cool. And that is best cost provider strategy. And with that, we finish chapter number 5. Right? Let us take 2 minutes, right? Let us take 2 minutes, any doubts and questions, and then get ready for a revision quiz. And then let us focus on doing a revision quiz. And I would really want all of you to please, for this session at least, like I know it's becoming difficult for you to come to the chat box and type, but please come to the chat box and type your answers, because it is going to help you. Like probably even if you're not able to type, like just participate. Probably I cannot watch you guys, but I see if you're watching on YouTube also today because of the issue. Just write down the answers, and probably in the next session, when I think the technical issue will be resolved, we can discuss those answers if you have any doubts. Probably I'll try to explain all the questions as well, right? But just let me know if you are typing, if you're ready to answer. Just give me a yes, give me ready for the quiz. Write something on the chat box, in the chat box, and I'll be understanding that, cool, I can go with the revision test, right? Everyone and all of those who are able to write in the chat box, please write down that we are ready for the quiz, and then we will start with this revision quiz, which I think is a little bit tough and technical, right? I've tried to make it a bit technical and tough for you guys. So let's see how that happens if you are able to answer. Awesome. Jameel says, Mevin says, Harsh says that we are ready. I'm also ready. I'll just wait for another 30 seconds, Harsh. Let's see if others are also there. I would want them to answer as well. Awesome. Pooja says ready. Charu says ready. Vrinda says ready. Rohan says, sir, in SM paper we have 1 mark MCQ only. Rohan, probably yes, but you will also have 2 markers is what I understand. एक बारी देखना पड़ेगा आपको how the exam is. I hope you guys have gone through previous attempt ka paper also. Right? That will give you a very good view of how the papers come. Right? Last attempt ka paper dekho. You will understand how the exams come, what to expect from examination. Cool. Hey, awesome. Vivek says ready. Jameen says we can proceed. Khushi, I see. Shraddha is there. Prajakta is there. Abhijit. Rudrani is there. Nitya is there. Awesome. All right. So let us go and look at the first question. Right. Read the question very carefully. Read the question carefully and answer. Right. Read the question very carefully and answer. Shyam Singh had 4 products: soap, shampoo, oils, and creams. Out of these, soaps were facing huge competition, and while they were making enough money to survive, but the future was dull. While they were making enough money to survive, but the future was dull. They can be categorized under BCG matrix as what? Cash cows, dogs, bulls, or stars. 4 products Shyam Singh ke paas: soap, shampoo, oil, creams. Soap is facing a lot of competition. While it is making good money, it can survive itself, but the future is very dull. What will you categorize soap as per BCG matrix? Is it a cash cow? Is it a dog? Is it a bull? Or is it a star? Is it a cash cow because it is making enough money to survive? Is it a dog because the future is dull? Is it a bull because the future is dull but it will turn around and change things? Or is it a star because it is making good money for itself? What categorization will be there for soaps under BCG matrix? सोप की कैटेगराइजेशन क्या है? What is the categorization of soaps? Okay, we have cash cows. Hi Achal, how are you? I can see your query. Cash cow, dog, cash cow. What about others? Somebody is saying cash cow, somebody is saying dogs. We have answers, and I'm just checking the answers here as well. Dogs, bulls, cash cow, bulls, okay. What about others? I'll just wait for another 1 minute. Okay. Achha, all those who are saying bulls, just tell me, bulls होते भी हैं या नहीं? BCG matrix में, do we even have a categorization called bulls? Do we even have bulls? BCG में there are 4 categorizations: cash cow, dogs, stars and question marks. Bulls तो होता भी नहीं. Why are you answering bull? All those who are answering bulls, you need to revise the chapter very carefully. BCG matrix में bull is not even a category. For everyone who is saying cash cow, right? Cash cow the answer नहीं. The answer is dogs. The answer is dogs, okay? I'll tell you why. In BCG matrix, you remember cash cow kya hai? What is cash cow? Cash cow is which is providing so much money that you can sustain other businesses also. Cash cow is a business which makes so much money for you without much effort. There is not growth, but it is still growing. It is still growing. It is not in a downward trend. Secondly, cash cow makes so much money that it can sustain other businesses also. आपको कहीं पे लॉस हो रहा है, कैश काउ का पैसा आप यूज कर सकते हो, राइट? डॉग्स में the future is downward. It is going down. Plus, dog only makes money for themselves, right? I will upload these MCQs. Right? So dogs they create money for themselves. It is making enough money to survive. अभी ये अपना ही खर्चा पूरा कर पा रहा है. Dog soaps is only able to make enough money to survive. बाकी businesses को help नहीं कर सकता है. And the future is dull. The future is downward. It is a dog. Okay? Bull तो category नहीं है BCG में. It's a question mark. It's a star. It's a dog or it's a cash cow. Cash cow makes money for others also and it is growing. The answer is dogs. Okay? The answer is dogs. You have to be very careful in the examination. Right? Correct. Second question on the screen. Second question on the screen. If a company wants to understand market attractiveness, boss, underline kar raha hu, market attractiveness of a business, it should take care of all the below except which ones? Market attractiveness की बात होती है. Size of the market देखेंगे, industry की profitability देखेंगे, we will look at customer loyalty, or we will look at distribution structure. Out of these 4, किस चीज पे मेरे को ध्यान नहीं देना है. It should take care of all the following except, right? Out of these four, which one is not important to understand market attractiveness? Market attractiveness समझने के लिए इनमें से कौन सा important नहीं है? Okay. Distribution structure is the first answer I've got. What about others? Okay, so we have industry profitability, we have customer loyalty, we have size of the market, we have distribution structure, then we have customer loyalty, we have distribution structure again, customer loyalty, distribution structure. What about others? What about others? Size of the market, okay, industry profitability again. Let us wait for another 30 seconds. Read the question very carefully. Boss, वरना एग्जाम में बड़ा स्ट्रेस हो जाएगा. Size of the market, distribution structure, customer loyalty, distribution structure. Okay. The correct answer is customer loyalty. The correct answer is customer loyalty. Okay. Market attractiveness के लिए you will not take care of customer loyalty. Customer loyalty is very business specific. Business की specific होती है customer loyalty. When I'm talking about the market as a whole, I will look at the size, the profitability, and the distribution structure of the market. How is distribution done in this market? क्या retail shop से होता है? Is it done online? Is it done via retail shops? Is it done by wholesalers? Is it export का business? Is it import का business? How is import done? What kind of raw materials I have to import? How do I export? What are the different dealers and things? How do I export my product? China से होके जाता है, यूरोप से होके जाता है. You understand the distribution structure of a market. Customer loyalty is business specific. Customer loyalty is business specific, not market specific, right? If a company wants to understand market attractiveness, it will not focus on customer loyalty. But if a business wants to understand the business strength, अपनी ताकत, they want to analyze SWOT analysis में strength अपनी internal देखनी है, that is customer loyalty, right? They have to analyze an internal thing that is business strength, then it is customer loyalty. If they have to understand market, they will look at distribution structure, industry की profitability क्या है, what is the size of the market. Customer loyalty is business specific, not market specific. जरूरी नहीं है मार्केट में I study customer किसके पास loyal है. That is not a market loyalty. That is a business level. वो internally I have to check. Market के लिए I don't have to check your customer loyalty, right? You need a 50-50 lifeline in these MCQs, Charu. Then your marks will also come 50-50. Is that okay? I'll give you 50-50 lifeline, but your marks will also come 50 then. I don't think that is what you want, right? Cool. Next question, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, on the screen. Again, read the question very carefully, okay? I can tell you, these are the kind of questions that will come in examination. P. Kumar, the business manager of a manufacturing plant, was devising long-term objectives for his business. Acha. Keyword, long-term objectives, okay? Which of the following areas can he ignore while doing so? Long-term objectives बनाने के time, which of the areas can he ignore? Absolutely, Ria, right? The answer is there in the question itself, but because the questions are framed like a question and not like a statement, it becomes difficult to find the answer, right? And that is how examinations are going to be. And that is why we're doing the practice here. It is better to be wrong here than to be in the examination. वहाँ पे तो marks lose करोगे. यहाँ तो people can't even see you. I'm telling you. यहाँ तो only I can watch your answers. People even don't know. So you're free to answer, free to learn. There is no judgment around it, right? You have a very good environment to learn. Maybe in classrooms, a lot of us get fears. अगर आंसर गलत हुआ यार, बच्चे क्या सोचेंगे, दोस्त क्या सोचेंगे. No one doesn't even know you here. So it's a very good platform to learn. The answers coming in are profitability. Somebody is saying productivity. People are saying profitability. Then I have employee relations also. I have technological cost reduction also. Again, a tough question. I think I've made good questions. Right? Understand the question very carefully. Let me help you, okay? So long-term objective है. Long-term objective means what all things you should be considering. I should be considering productivity. I should be thinking about profitability in the long term. I should be thinking about productivity in the long term. I should be thinking about my employees in the long term. Or I should be thinking about technological cost reduction in the long term. Right? मेरा लॉन्ग टर्म ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या होना चाहिए? इनमें से इग्नोर कौन सा करना है? क्वेश्चन इज ऑल्सो डिफरेंट. होने तो सब चाहिए, बट इसमें से एक नहीं होना चाहिए. वन ऑफ दीज इज इनकरेक्ट. विच इज द इनकरेक्ट वन? ओके, द करेक्ट आंसर इज technological cost reduction. Okay. In the long-term objective, if you go back to your syllabus and you read long-term objectives, it talks about technological advancement. Okay, it talks about technological advancement. Technological cost reduction. So if we just study cost leadership में long-term में, cost reduction is also a challenge. Cost reduction in the long term is very expensive. It can prove to be very expensive. In the long term, being a cost leader or reducing your costs can be very expensive. So long term objective में cost reduction कैसे हो सकती है? Technological cost reduction long term objective कैसे हो सकता है? Right? In the long term, it's going to be expensive. That's a drawback of cost reduction. In the long term, it can prove to be expensive. तो वो long term objectives कैसे होगा? Plus, long-term objective is technological advancement, not specifically cost reduction. Cost reduction is a result of technological advancement. Your company should focus on best technology. Cost reduction is a result of it. It is not an objective, right? Objective is productivity. Profitability होनी चाहिए long-term objective में. There should be employee relations in the long-term objectives. There should not be technological cost reduction. Rather, there should be technological advancement. Okay, that is what long-term objectives talk about. If you go to the syllabus, you will find the exact same language there, right? I have taken all these statements, I've taken all these words from the study material only. I have prepared this quiz purely from the study material without even changing words, right? I'm using the same words from the study material. That is why I keep telling you, study material is the Bible. My PPTs are your revision. My PPTs should be your revision material where you can quickly understand, अच्छा ये पढ़ा था, ये पढ़ा था, ये पढ़ा था, right? You have to study the study material anyway. There is no alternative. Okay, cool. Next question. SWOT analysis is a method. SWOT analysis is a method that can be used at what stage of strategic management? Strategic management की stages भी थी. हाँ, strategic management also had stages. There were 5 stages. We studied each of the stage in depth. SWOT analysis is a method that can be used at what stage of strategic management? Is it stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 or stage 4? अभी stage 1 क्या थी, stage 2 क्या थी, 3 क्या थी और 4 क्या थी? You need to remember that. That is how the examination is going to be, right? Had I written the name of the stage, it would have become very easy. Okay, so answers are already in stage 1, stage 4, stage 2. Again, the answers are mixed, and I'm really happy that the answers are mixed, right? I want all of you to be wrong. Like, I want you to make mistakes here. Tabhi you will go and study and crack your examination. यहाँ पे you have to be wrong. It is good to be wrong here. सोचो आप एग्जाम दे के आओ and then you find out यार सारे आंसर गलत हो गए. Then that is 6 months are gone, right? Your 6 months, crucial 6 months are gone then. It is better you make your mistakes here. Stage 1, stage 3, stage 4, stage 1. Okay. What about others? People are going back to the study material. Stage 1 kya thi, stage 2 kya thi. Is it so? That is why it is taking so much time. Stage 3, 2, 1, 1, 4. Let us look at the answer. The answer is stage 2. Your stage 2 was environmental and organizational analysis. Right? Stage 1 थी vision, mission. Stage 1 तो vision और mission बनाना था. The stage 1 was creating a vision and mission, strategic intent. Number 2 was environmental and organizational analysis. Remember? Now stage 2 में environmental और organizational analysis हो रहा है, जिसमें environmental analysis is opportunities and threats. Organizational analysis was your strengths and weakness. Correct? अपना ये stage 2 में we did that. Stage 2 में we do environmental and organizational analysis, which is environment से we get to know opportunity and threat. Organizational analysis say we get to know our strengths and our weaknesses. And that is what SWOT analysis is. Strength, weakness, opportunity and threat. It is stage number 2. Right? Environmental and organizational analysis. That is stage number 2. Right? Yes, people need phone a friend. So phone a friend is not me. I'm not on your phone. I am helping you right now. I am expert advice. Okay. Next question. Expect these long questions also in the examination. Okay. Read the question carefully. Again, I'm telling you, look at the keywords and tell me what the answer is. So Jayant has had multiple unrelated businesses, right? Jayant has had multiple unrelated businesses. He recently got a mail from a big Korean brand to help them enter the Indian clothing segment, for which they would use his network of dealers and brand name, and in return share 15% of the profits. For Jayant, this would be what kind of a strategy? Right? Jayant के पास multiple unrelated businesses हैं. He recently got a mail from a big Korean brand which says, boss, we want to enter the Indian clothing segment. But उसके लिए we will use your network of dealers and आपका brand name भी use करेंगे इंडिया में. And in return, I'll give you 15% of the profits. For Jayant, this would be what? Is it a conglomerate business strategy for Jayant? Is it a congeneric business strategy for Jayant? Is it a strategic alliance for Jayant? Or is it a merger for Jayant? Classic question. The answers are in strategic alliance, conglomerate business, conglomerate. Somebody says merger, there is strategic alliance, then there is conglomerate again. Let's wait for another 30 seconds. Let's see what others have to say. Majority people are saying strategic alliance. A few of you are telling me conglomerate because unrelated business है तो conglomerate होगा, right? But यहाँ पे तो ये deal कर रहे हैं, network use कर रहे हैं, profit share कर रहे हैं, brand name कर रहे हैं, तो ये strategic alliance लग रहा है. but दो companies है, जयंत की company है, there's a Korean brand, they're coming together and merging in India, तो merger भी हो सकता है. Conglomerate, strategic alliance. So there's a fight between conglomerate and strategic alliance. Right? All of those who are saying conglomerate business, I think you are thinking about unrelated businesses as the keyword, and isliye you are saying conglomerate. For all of those who are saying strategic alliance, I think you are saying कि नहीं, ये तो network of dealers जो brand name ले रहा है, Korean wants to enter into India, like Starbucks and Tata. Starbucks and Tata वाला example है, so probably yes, this is strategic alliance. Let's see what is the right answer. The right answer is strategic alliance. The correct answer is strategic alliance, right? For Jayant, this is a strategic alliance. Unrelated business है, but conglomerate business is an internal growth strategy. Conglomerate is an internal growth strategy. Jayant कोई नया काम शुरू थोड़ी ना करता. Jayant is not doing a new company which is unrelated from existing companies. He already has a network of dealers. He already has a brand name. Some XYZ company from Korea is coming and saying, I will use that. I will give you a royalty or a fees of 15%. It is a strategic alliance. It is a strategic friendship between Korean brand and Giant's company. It is not a conglomerate. Conglomerate is an internal growth. अगर Giant कुछ नया खुद शुरू करता, if Giant had started a new business unrelated from all the existing businesses, that is a conglomerate. But right now, it's a strategic friendship, strategic alliance between Giant and the Korean brand, right? कौन generic तो दूर दूर तक नहीं, right? कौन generic तो दूर दूर तक नहीं, because it is not a related business, it's not internal growth strategy. दोनों ही criteria out of it. It's a strategic alliance. Let us move on to the next question. Next question is on your screens. The next question is on your screens. Sheetal saw constant negative cash flows and deteriorating physical capabilities of her business, and decided to shut down everything and implement an emergency plan for a turnaround. Okay. What would have been her strategic step just before emergency plan though? Right? You remember, Abhi, I'll help you, okay? Let us see. We are talking about turnaround strategy. समझ आ गया. यहाँ पे we are talking about turnaround strategy. I understand that. I understood that it's a turnaround strategy. But boss, turnaround strategy में तो different steps होते थे. You remember? Turnaround strategy. Okay, so Charu has, how is Starbucks using Tata's name? Charu, just go on Google and write Starbucks India. You will see how they are using Tata. Under Starbucks, you go to any Starbucks ka store, okay? Outside it's written Starbucks, niche it's written a Tata enterprise, a Tata joint venture, right? They are using the name of Tata on their branding in India, right? Everyone knows in India it's Tata Starbucks. It's not Starbucks, it's Tata Starbucks. That is how they're using the name. Coming to this question, I'm helping you understand the question kya hai. We are talking about turnaround strategy, and turnaround strategy ke andar we had certain steps. How to do a turnaround strategy had certain steps. जिसमें से एक step था implementing emergency plan. जिसमें से there was one step which was about implementing an emergency plan. But before you implement an emergency plan, there were few steps before that. Which was the step which was immediately before emergency plan implement करना? The just before emergency plan क्या करना होता है? Okay, the answers are here. Assessment of current problem, refreeze and freeze operations, analyzing the situation and devising a strategic plan, implementing the emergency plan. So the answers that are coming in are assessment of current problem, implementing the emergency plan, right? Everyone who is saying implementing the emergency plan, you haven't read the question carefully. Look at this. मैंने तो क्वेश्चन में ही लिख दिया they're implementing an emergency plan. वो तो कर ही रहे हैं. They're implementing the emergency plan. How can implementing the emergency plan be an answer? Which is the step just before an emergency plan? That means what is the step just before implementing the emergency plan? ये तो आंसर हो ही नहीं सकता. You have to read the question very carefully. Okay. So the answers that are coming are assessment of current problem, analyzing the situation and devising a strategic plan. C. Okay. Pooja says that, Tanu says that, Vyanshi says that. Cool. Okay. Analyzing the situation and devising a strategic plan is what people are saying. Awesome. Okay. Okay. I'll wait for another 5 seconds. Refreeze and freeze, analyzing the situation, devising is the right answer. Just before you implement an emergency plan, you analyze the situation and devise a strategic plan, and then you implement that emergency plan. Okay, you devise a strategic plan and then you implement. Assessment of current problem is step number 1. Analyzing the situation is step number 2. Step number 3 is implementing a strategic plan. Step number 4 is, basically it's devising a strategy. Step number 3 is implementing a strategy plan, which is also this, implementing a emergency plan. मैंने same चीज नीचे दे दी to confuse you, right? So one is assessment of current problem. The second is analyzing the situation, and then you implement a strategic plan, an emergency plan, right? That is the right answer, is analyzing. Just before you implement an emergency plan, you analyze the situation and devise a strategic plan. तभी तो आप implement करो, right? Okay. This is the last question. Which is a very straightforward question. This is the last question, and it is a very straightforward question. Using your strengths to take advantage of opportunities as per Tau's matrix is called what? Tau's matrix याद है? SWOT matrix का उल्टा. Using your strengths to take advantage of opportunities as per Tau's matrix is called what? Is it mini-maxi? Is it maxi-mini? Is it mini-mini? Or is it maxi-maxi? Using your strengths to take advantage of opportunities as per Tau's matrix is called what? Is it mini-maxi? Is it maxi-mini? Is it mini-mini? Or is it maxi-maxi? We have done this with examples. TikTok का example लिया था. We used example of different apps. We used WhatsApp as an example. Okay, so the answers are out. Maxi, 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 mini, maxi, mini, maxi, 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 maxi. Okay. Majority of you are saying maxi, maxi. Let's wait for others. Straightforward question तो सब आसानी से दे देते, right? Straightforward questions तो बहुत easy. अच्छा, yes and no, so simple answer. The moment I give you a case question, it's a clean bold, right? And that is what we have to practice. There's a booklet of cases out. You should go and do that. ICAI has published a full-length case scenario booklet, right? And that should be one of your Bibles. You should just go and practice that. Maxi, 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 maxi. Okay. everyone says maxi maxi, I wouldn't waste much time. It's maxi maxi, which is SO strategy. SO means strengths and opportunity strategy, which is called maxi maxi strategy, right? With that, we end the quiz also, right? And it's already 9:30 as well on time, perfectly on time. And I think today's question answers, today's quiz, especially the cases that I gave, that would be an eye opener to understand what kind of questions will come and where are you lacking. I'm pretty sure आपके concepts clear, right? I'm pretty sure your concepts are absolutely clear. You just need to practice a lot, right? You just need to practice a lot. It is like you know how to play cricket, but if you go on field, probably you will be clean bowled or your wickets will always be broken by the bowler, right? You look at the television, you know, अच्छा cricket तो बहुत आसान है, ball आई छक्का मार दो. Once you are on the pitch, you know the pressure, you know how to play that game. It's a different thing altogether. And for that, you have to practice, right? The more you practice, the more you solve questions, the more you read questions and understand questions, the better it is. IPL देखना और IPL खेलना, that is the entire difference that we are at right now. The first step is clear. We know what it is, what can come, what are the concepts. Now practice, right? Study material के पीछे के questions do past year questions, do mock test papers, do the booklet of case scenarios that is out on ICAI website. Go and do that, right? So Jameel, freeze and refreeze, we'll do that, right? Aapka freeze and unfreeze na, we'll do in business re-engineering. There is a concept called business re-engineering. उसमें हम लोग पढ़ेंगे freeze and refreeze, right? I've given this from ahead chapters. उसमें से concept उठा के दे दिया to see if you guys know or not. We'll come to that as well. Business re-engineering में we will study about freezing, refreezing and unfreezing of a business strategy, right? Awesome. And last 1 minute on any doubts and questions, and probably with that we'll end today's session. And in the next session we'll start with chapter number 6 and take it ahead from there. Absolutely, Pooja. Concepts are clear, but reading and practice. Practice is a must. Practice to करना ही पड़ेगा. Cool. Any questions and doubts? Last 1 minute. Let us solve those. Let us help those with any questions. If not, for everyone who is clear with the concept, I would just say thank you so much for joining. Keep joining. Ask your friends to join in. Probably it's all free. They might also help with it. They might get help, right? And thanks for joining and everything. For actually being active on the chat as well. For everyone who is active on the chat, thank you for being so responsive. It helps me a lot, right? वरना अकेले बोलते रहेंगे तो अजीब सा लगेगा. Probably people at my house will tell me that I'm gone case. I'm a crackhead talking to myself. Yes, everyone, like that's one of the best things you can do for your professional career is what I say, right? Go and build a profile on LinkedIn. It's going to help you professionally. A lot. Articleship ho, chahe industrial training ho, chahe job ho, chahe practice ho. It's like Instagram for business. All right. Any questions? I will just refresh. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Will the technical team solve the portal problems? I'll request them. I can request them and I'll do that role, right? The maximum I can do is I can request them to look at the technical side. Students are facing a lot of issues on the app. I'll put forward. I can request and I'll do that. Cool. Chalo. So let us see you in the next session. And thank you everyone for joining and stay safe, guys.